Hello, welcome to Thor Talk, the show all about Marvel's resident god of thunder. On this episode of Thor Talk, Thor comes face to face with the elder god known as the Utgard-Odin, who is also Thor's great-grandfather, Buri. Thor's brother Tyr has fallen, and the children of Odin have gathered to save their brother, but only Buri has the key to saving him. Though he is their kin, the Utgard-Odin will not give up that key without a fight. We'll see how the first All-Father compares to the All-Father Thor on Thor Talk.
I am Thor the Thunderer, son of Odin, prince of Asgard, and this world is under my protection.
The Immortal Thor number 12 was written by Al Ewing and was published in June of 2024. The issue begins with the 15th stanza of the Viking Age Eddic poem, Havamal. Taciturn and prudent and in war daring should a king's children be. Joyous and liberal everyone should be until his hour of death. As we've discussed in the past, Havamal is a collection of wise sayings attributed to the god Odin. There are many stanzas about how to behave wisely in Havamal, and this particular stanza addresses the children of kings. Kings' children should be silent and be trying to learn from those around them. Havamal often advises people to shut up and listen, and this is yet another case of this. Additionally, they should be glad and generous until the day they die. This stanza was chosen because it relates to how the children of a king should act, and this issue focuses on the children of Odin, the former king of Asgard. The stanza says that children of a king should be quiet and learn by listening rather than acting on their own without being willing to learn. This is the lesson that Thor takes to heart when he faces Tiwaz. At first he tries to overpower him, as he would any other opponent, but the only way he's able to succeed is by listening to the clues and lessons of Tiwaz. On the other side of the spectrum, Tyr, another son of Odin, remains silent and listens to the lessons of Oblivion, which leads to his current state. The stanza also teaches to be joyous and liberal until the hour of one's death. The approaching hour of Thor's death is brought to the forefront in this issue. Additionally, another son of Odin ends up meeting his death, and the rest are faced with what may be their deaths. Rather than living in fear of their end and wallowing in despair, they push on and feel joy as long as they live. Tyr, on the other hand, has met death in a way, and no longer feels joy. Once upon a time, there was a box. One of many set by the In-Betweener to teach the lessons of Oblivion, the primordial void itself. Tyr, god of war, had become one such pupil, and though he was a fallen god, or was he pushed, he was still a son of Odin, and the other children of Odin would not let him fall easily to such cosmic machinations. Tyr was split in two, and the children of Odin would follow both trails, however far it led them. Thor, Angela, Loki, and Balder emerged from the box to find a place as cold as Jotunheim, but with a sky that showed worlds crashing into each other. Angela says this is where the trail ends. Part of Tyr is here to be found, but which part and where here is were unknown. It is my home, or at least it's where I choose to wander for a time. Look thou for this, my friends. Strange indeed was the visitor, and stranger still his arrival, between one eye blink and the next. Yet strangest of all was the blazing rune that flitted around his hand. The rune of Tyr, that was also the rune of Tiwaz, the rune of justice and sacrifice. It seems that the reason Tyr was split in two is that the rune of Tyr's spirit has been removed, and Oblivion is now in its place. This rune is equivalent to the letter T, and it's called Tyr in the younger Futhark. However, in the elder Futhark, which was replaced by the younger around the Viking Age, it was called Tiwaz, which is Tyr's Proto-Germanic name. So, you see, the rune is both the rune of Tyr and the rune of Tiwaz. Inside another box, Hermod, god of speed and son of Odin, looks upon the other part of Tyr. Tyr, answer me. Are you all right?
Nothing is all right. Nothing is good. Praise nothing.
And sacrifice there was, for Tyr was found. Swift Hermod knew not how best to respond. I'll get help. To what was now no god but far beyond.
Run and get help then. Nothing is quicker than Hermod. Nothing is quicker.
So Hermod met his end without a sound. Outside, the other Odin children peered into the darkness, calling Hermod's name, but every time the answer was the same, a silence that confirmed what Honir feared. Hermod was gone. Honir cannot sense him. Bragi confirms that Hermod is gone, not just dead, but gone beyond even Valhalla's reach.
Bragi speaks true. What Oblivion's own hand touches knows no continuation. The doom beyond mere death. Today, an Odin son met his end.
So, Hermod is gone. More dead than dead. I'm a bit disappointed since, as I mentioned in the last video, I was excited to see more of him, and now he's just gone. He didn't even have a chance to fight back or have a cool final moment. To be fair to Ewing, this does make Tyr seem like a more terrifying threat. Hermod is there 1 minute, and the next he's just completely wiped from existence. Still, as I'll get into later, I don't think this all came together well enough, where losing Hermod feels justified. Vidar now understands the gravity of the situation. Gone is more than dead. No Valhalla, nor even cheerless hell. Vidar has known many griefs, but this is a grief like no other. It wakes a vengeance within him like no other, and he asks who will hold the child while he seeks it.
I will. I'll hold little Lausa, and then I'll hold my brothers and my other sister, until my hand is quite empty. And then I'll hold the world tree itself, and see what comes of that.
Tyr has been completely given over to the ways of Oblivion, and it seems that now he wants to wipe out everything in service to his new master. There is something chilling about the way he speaks about wanting to hold baby Lausa until his hand is empty. The fact that he wants to wipe out the world tree itself makes Ullr's warning of the doom they face feel very credible. As a fellow skald, Loki can hear Bragi's narration, and he updates his group on what's happening. Tyr has become a vessel of Oblivion. Rune magic might be able to cure him, but swift Hermod has fallen to the true death. Thor reminds Loki that what Tyr has become is his fault, and so are the consequences. Angela asks who Tiwaz is since Thor acts as if he knows him. Thor says he is a wizard who tended to him when he was lost in grief, but that him being here suggests that there is more to him. I, Tiwaz am I called. Tiwaz who wanders, Tiwaz who is wisdom and the winter sky. And Tiwaz was I called when the demiurge woke me to being, when I faced great Atum, one with wile and wit, and went my way. Tiwaz was I called when I wandered here to Antlong, the middle heaven, land of spirits and strange forces. Tiwaz was I called when I stood here too long, lost in wonder at the birth and death of worlds and time, and thick rime ice crept over me. But when Aldhumbla, the cow whose milk nourished Ymir, the primal giant, licked me free, I took another name. Then was I called Buri, All-Father, for I was father to Bor, who was then father to Odin, who was father to Thor, who stands with mouth agape before me now, my great-grandson. Alright, so we get a huge lore drop here, and I am all for it. Thor first met Tiwaz in Thor number 355. While he was mourning the death of Odin, Thor wandered the outer reaches of Asgard and was caught in an avalanche created by Hela. Tiwaz found him and nursed him back to health. Tiwaz was an incredibly powerful wizard, and the grieving Thor became convinced that he was Odin in disguise. Tiwaz revealed that he used to be called Allfather, but he was not Odin, and he was able to help Thor come to terms with his father's death. However, after Thor leaves, it is revealed that Tiwaz was actually Buri, Thor's great-grandfather. In the Norse myths, the first two beings in the universe were the Jotun Ymir and the cow Aldhumbla that Ymir nursed on. Aldhumbla, being a cow, licked the salty, icy blocks, revealing a man's hair underneath. She kept licking until Buri, the first god, emerged. This story was also adapted in Journey into Mystery number 97. We learned in previous issues of the Immortal Thor that Tiwaz was one of the elder gods created by the Demiurge, and that he was the Utgard-Odin. Here, Tiwaz connects the stories of Utgard-Odin and Buri. Tiwaz managed to defeat Atum and then came to the land of Andlong. Andlong is a place briefly mentioned in Snorri Sturluson's Prose Edda, as the second heavenly realm that will keep souls of the dead after Ragnarok. Tiwaz watched the constant death and rebirth of Andlong so long that rime ice formed around him, until he was licked free by Audhumbla. He then became known as Buri, and eventually great-grandfather to Thor, which, by the way, if you're keeping track, means that Thor is now 5/8 Elder God, instead of just half Elder God. Balder is relieved to find out that the stranger holding the key to saving Tyr is their great-grandfather, but Angelo warns that while Buri is their kin, Tiwaz is wisdom, and wisdom rarely lends itself to easy answers. He is the rune of Tyr's spirit, but it is also Tiwaz's rune, and he is loath to let it go. You speak in riddles, old one. Are riddles not as fine a sport as any? And rune riddles as valid a test? Then here's my test, Thor All-Father. The rune Tiwaz is rune of victory, so you alone must win it from me. Bragi hears Loki's narrations, and tells the others that they must keep Tyr busy until Thor can bring the rune to them.
I said, I want to hold my sister.
Had Vidar in that moment sought to shield himself with Lausa, he would be shamed. But Lausa was not offered. She was aimed, and Surta's fire can cause a god to yield. Honir the hunter's arrows fell like a hail. A thunderstorm could drive the war god back. Elsewhere, another thunderous attack struck Buri square and true. Fall, great-grandfather! I choose not to fall. What now, Thor? I have stronger weapons than lightning, old wizard, as Mjolnir will attest! Ah, Mjolnir, stop there, please. I would admire thy craftsmanship. You are truly Eitri's greatest achievement, old friend. 'Tis good to see you whole again. Still, this is as close as I'd prefer you, great crusher. So back to your master's hand you go. What now, Thor?
To longtime readers, it should come as no surprise that Buri can control Mjolnir. Unless they're being written by Jason Aaron, the Allfathers of Asgard have been consistently able to command Mjolnir. Still, I do love the way that Buri executes the action here. He's just so casual and non-threatening about it. He greets Mjolnir as an old friend and stops it to admire the fine craftsmanship. Thor reassesses his opponent. Tiwaz survived the cosmic fire of Atum, so it's unlikely Thor can harm him. As Odin's grandfather, the Odin power will likely be useless against him as well. Tiwaz claimed to win his battle with Atum with his wit, and that riddles are as fine a contest as any. Let us wager on thy wits, Tiwaz. Answer me this if you can, and if you can, the rune is yours. What is big, red, and eats rocks?
A riddle! Let me consider then. Is it Surtur, perhaps, whose flames young Lausa wields? He is big and red, and his fire consumes all, even stone.
Nay, the fire consumes, but not Surtur himself.
Then 'tis the sun from which Atum came, for it will one day turn big and red and swallow the rock that is the earth.
Nay, I ask not what will be, but what is.
Then you have me, Thor. I am without an answer. What is big, red, and eats rocks?
A big red rock eater.
Well done. You have your prize, Thor. But tell me before I send you hence, where learned you that jest?
At my father's knee. 'Twas a favorite of his.
Is that so? I wonder whose knee he learned it at.
Thor and Tiwaz having a game of riddles is, as Tiwaz says, very fitting, since contests of riddles appear a few times in Norse mythology. Most notably in Vafthrudnismal, when Odin has one with the wise Jotun Vafthrudnir, and they stake their heads on the outcome. There's also the saga of Hervor and Heidrek, when Odin has one with King Heidrek. And J.R.R. Tolkien paid homage to these myths in the Riddles in the Dark section of The Hobbit. In all these riddle competitions, the contest is decided when the protagonist asks a question only he knows the answer to. In Vafthrudnismal and the saga of Hervor and Heidrek, Odin wins by asking his opponents what Odin whispered in his son's ear on the funeral pyre, because only Odin himself knows that. In the Riddles in the Dark, Bilbo wins by asking Gollum what is in his pocket, because only he knows that. In the Immortal Thor number 12, Thor asks Tiwaz a question that he heard from his father, and since his father is dead and the answer is so difficult to guess, only Thor knows it. Or at least he thinks he does. You probably have already heard this elementary school joke, but what's interesting is that Tiwaz implies that he knew it as well. Tiwaz wonders at whose knee Odin learned the joke. I think the implication is that Tiwaz came up with that joke, but pretended not to know the answer. Tiwaz is wisdom, and he is an elder god, but he's still Thor's ally. He taught Thor a lesson on how to win with his wits. Speaking of which, I'm surprised that Tormod never came into play. It symbolizes Thor's wit, and it's on the cover, but Thor didn't even bring it with him. Perhaps this lesson will give Thor greater control of Tormod when he's reunited with it. Be about your quest, my great-grandchildren. Oh, and Loki, I know what you have done, and what you will do. You, I'll see again. Balder asks Loki what he meant by that. Loki swears on Odin's grave dirt that he has no idea. But Odin was cremated in a longboat. Loki tells Bragi not to say a word on it. As I've mentioned before, Loki has done something. We don't know what, but it's something really, really bad. Even Loki feels bad about it, and it's something that Tiwaz and Bragi know about. We just don't know what. Yet. Elsewhere, the other children of Odin are holding Tyr back, but they begin to tire. Oblivion! I care not how vast a concept you are, nor how long you have laid your plans. 'Tis time to give him back!
Cast your petty sigil, Thor. Oblivion has all the time there is. Shall I tell you what final doom waits for you?
If you wish, you may scream it. The missing part of Tyr's soul was filled. Tyr screamed in pain, and the Serpent of the End left him. Loki is annoyed at Tyr being back again, but Thor tells him to be quiet. He has grown tired of Loki's schemes and offers Bragi his old job as Skald back. But Bragi turns him down and says that reality now needs a trickster's tongue to sing it. Thor then turns to Ullr and offers him his hall again. Ullr thanks him for his offer, as few would have a god of doom in their kingdom. But of course, Thor already has a dark doom hanging over him. Ullr, you are my older brother, and closer by blood than any I have. If there are things you know, I would have you tell them.
Then tell them I shall. For as surely as I am thy mother's child, thy end is coming, Thor, and it comes soon.
It seems that I was right in the last video when I theorized that Ullr was the son of Gaia and Odin, which makes him Thor's only full sibling. Now, Thor's older brother divulges Thor's doom to him. Thor is to meet his end on a bridge with Mjolnir, Tormod, and Megingjord. We already knew this, but now Ullr is going to give Thor more details, but we'll have to wait until we get them. So the quest for Tyr has been completed, and honestly, I feel like it didn't fully deliver. Not a bad issue by any means, but it didn't fully live up to the potential, and the pacing was a bit off. Oblivion Tyr is very well set up as this terrifying threat. He's a god of war taught the ways of Oblivion. He's got a mysterious new hand. Ullr warns that no one will be safe if they fail to save him, and he effortlessly erases Hermod from existence. But the moment that he emerges from the box, all that buildup kind of goes to waste. He's held off indefinitely by Baby Laus's Surtur Breath and Honir's arrows. Then, the moment they start to tire, Thor shows up and Oblivion Tear is instantly defeated the moment Thor drops the rune. He's taken out so quickly, and the fact he was held off so long by just 2 of the children of Odin destroys the sense of inescapable doom that's been hyped up. Now, if the children of Odin had to team up to defeat him while desperately avoiding his instant oblivion attacks, that would be something, and it would give Baldur something to do since he does absolutely nothing in this story. But to give Oblivion Tear and the children of Odin the battle they deserve, you'd need to add another issue. That would also help with the Riddle contest, since I kind of wish it went on a bit longer, before Thor eventually defeated Tiwaz with the unsolvable riddle. Finally, the obvious criticism, but I have to mention it, the art does not work here. I know that's quite a few criticisms I've thrown this issue's way, but I genuinely did enjoy it. Not everything came together perfectly, but we still got great lore drops with Tiwaz, the children of Odin teaming up, plenty of Norse mythology references, which of course I love, and exciting teases for the future. A flawed issue from Al Ewing's Immortal Thor run is better than most comics, and I'm grateful to get another entry in this fantastic series. Well, that's all for this episode of Thor Talk. I hope you enjoyed it. What did you think of the issue? Do you think Hermod deserved better? And if not, who hurt you? With that being said, see you next time on Thor Talk, where
You behold in breathless wonder.